Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about managing programmers when you don't code yourself. So let's get into it. So the question in question here was, Frederick, how is it possible that you have managers who don't program themselves managing programmers? And I'm going to try to give you the best answer that I can to this without sounding too patronizing or sound like I'm trying to put you down, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm going to state that, well, how can you have politicians who make decisions on things that they have absolutely no clue about? How can you have anybody literally who is in a management position who hasn't in a previous life actually worked with something within that field? I used to have at my old job, I was the main focus of the business was ticket sales and like events and management and so forth. And we got a very high up manager who had spent most of his career working for KFC in a management position, of course. I mean, selling fried chicken and the entertainment business are very similar things, right? So this is happening all over, guys. And the thing is about it, it's pretty straightforward. Management is pretty much the same thing. Like, it's the same core skills regardless of where you go. I mean, every business is a reflection in of itself. So of course you need to adapt, and certain things are true in some companies and certain things are not true. But managing people and doing administrative work is high level enough that you don't actually need to know all that much about the underlying mechanics of something. It depends on the job and the industry itself. I would say that in IT, it's of course a little bit more important that you have some technical skills, because it's very hard for you to. I mean, one of the bigger things is that you can't really relate to people, to programmers and their needs, and you can't really understand what it is that you are deciding upon if you don't have at least some computer knowledge and so forth. So the people that I meet who are, like, it depends on how high up you are, of course, but usually the people that are the closest to myself and my fellow developers have they're technical people. I'm not saying that they know how to program necessarily, but I'm saying that they're not lost when it comes to computers. I mean, it would become a source of fairly great frustration if we had to deal with some person who has no idea who basically doesn't know how to use a browser, right? So there is they have technical skills to a point. But I mean, if we really think about it, it's not really their job to do this sort of thing. It's not really their job to be a programmer per se. I will say myself, and this is just me talking now, because I know for a fact that you don't have to have this. I've worked with managers who have absolutely no experience with coding and anything like that. And I'm going to be honest that it can go both ways, but sometimes that's a good thing actually, and sometimes it's not such a good thing. I personally really value having a manager who has coding experience, who has worked as a programmer in some fashion, because in my world it's very similar to if I'm going to go to war. If I sign up for the military and I'm going to go to war, then I want to know that the person who is leading me and my fellow leading us into battle has seen war before. If the person, our officer or the person in charge has never seen war as green as me, then I will feel a bit discomfort from that. Especially, even more so if I'm more experienced than the individual who's leading us. And that experience, it shows, and it does show also here in programming. It shows very quickly how well a person, like a manager or a product owner or so forth, knows programming and this software industry, the software development field, if you will. It shows quickly. And it makes it easier to relate to each other if they have this knowledge, but it is not critical that they do have it. I mean, they can make up for it with a fairly high level of empathy and insight and so forth, and they do. I mean, usually the way it goes in IT companies when you have this sort of situation is that you have a manager of some sort who collaborates with a tech lead or some individual who has a technical understanding, and as long as they have a good and close communication channel between each other, it usually works out fine. And I'm going to just be honest and tell you, if it's not that common for you to have a manager who are at least used to be a programmer, who has these technical skills. So what I want you to take away from this is that managing people without knowing programming just because they are programmers is no different from managing most people. It's basically about having a higher level understanding of the profession that, or the people that you are managing, and the rest of it is administrative work. So it's not that critical that you actually have hard coding skills yourself. It is, however, important for you to be able to relate to people. And if you can do that through empathy or personality, or if you can do it through knowing how to code, I mean, it doesn't really matter. As long as you get that communication and you get a joint understanding of the goals that you are trying to achieve, right, then everything else kind of works out from there. I personally feel that I notice a difference between people who have prior experience in the industry and people who are just pretty much educated into being managers. But that's just me personally. And I am also saying to you that that doesn't have to be a problem. Sometimes it can actually be a good thing, because I know quite a few managers who used to be programmers who were promoted into being managers, but they should have really stayed programmers. They may have the technical knowledge to understand what's going on, but they lack the leadership skills and they lack the management skills. So it's a double-edged sword, if you will. Have a great day.